It's insane, right? Like a government MP seeking to find out how to imprison an opposition MP because they got out of their seats, apparently. And we know what it is, actually. It's being an MP while being Māori is the crime, actually.
Yeah.
They were, of course, that situation demanded a hugger, like that's Māori culture, and for her to turn around and say, I want you in prison, I think you should be in prison for that, it's insane. So is 21 days suspension.
Yeah.
Not by consensus. Most of the time when the Privileges Committee makes rulings, because it is about the behaviour of MPs across the House, it is usually because that behaviour has been grossly inappropriate, usually to the extent that the MP themselves recognises that and pulls back from it. Like Julianne, when she, Julianne Genter went across the chamber and leaned over Mark Ducey and said, look, I don't think what you're doing is not backed by the evidence, and got in his face, and that broke the rules. She was contrite about it. No punishment at all, right?
Yeah, but also it's important to remind people, not just no punishment. The accusation was intimidation, which is the accusation towards these guys. So it was the same accusation. Isn't it funny how the last week or so, Chewie, we've been talking about how Māori in our justice system, when they get convicted of the same crime as non-Māori, they go to prison twice as much. Yeah. And now we're saying in the House, Māori are getting quote unquote convicted of the same quote unquote crime and getting a harsher. Isn't it weird how that kind of flows on? Sorry to interrupt you, Clint. Off you go.
Yeah, no, and the fact that this has been forced by the government's majority rather than consensus, because like I say, usually Privileges Committee decisions are by consensus. Usually, if that MP, usually their own party would say, look, there's a fair cop here, that the whatever it is, 1 day suspension, maybe be named in the House, which is, these are reasonably low level things. But it's by consensus because that's an enormous power. And the power because they can't vote while they're suspended. So that effectively, if the government wanted to, right, they have a majority on the Privileges Committee, they could go onto the Privileges Committee tomorrow and say every opposition MP is suspended for the rest of the term. And the problem is, now that they're saying we are going to use our government majority power to suspend some opposition MPs for an outrageous amount of time, we are moving towards that kind of abuse of power. Rather, that's why these conventions exist, like the Privileges Committee making decisions by consensus to stop these abuses. And, I saw Chris Bishop on Twitter just about an hour ago saying, no, the reason why Julianne was treated differently than the Māori Party MPs is she displayed appropriate contrition and showed up to privileges.
She was a good girl.
Yeah, exactly.
Good girl. Well,
wait a minute. No, so what's the offence here? Was it the getting out of the seats? Was it, or are we now adding subsequent crimes, Like, what is this? Well,
that's the thing. Like, even Luxon talking about this in a media stand-up, I think, on the Tiles or somewhere there is interviewed about it, was that he added in their not turning up to the committee as like an aggravating feature. And it's like, that's not how the Privilege Committee works. Like, you don't have to go. No. Like, you go if you want to state your case, but it was very clear from their requests and the committee denying those requests that they didn't want Te Pāti Māori to bring in anybody to speak on their behalf.
Yeah.
Chris Finlayson of all people.
Chris Finlayson. And it just really shone a light on it that this is the Prime Minister talking about how privileges apparently works, and he's wrong. Again, he's an amateur, He's not very good at it, and he's the guy in charge.
Yeah,
And
he's
you don't
acting
know
like
how this core mechanic of Parliament. You don't understand how it works.
he's acting like he had nothing to do with it. It was his minister,
Yeah.
Judith Collins, who led that committee. It was his MPs that who made the decision. If he thought it was too harsh, he could have said, "No, we don't do that, guys. That's not on." He's acting like they're an impartial court, and they're not.
Like a court. Yes, that's exactly my point. Like he doesn't understand that Privileges is making a recommendation to the House, not that they have cast a judgment that is set in stone. I saw someone's opinion today that went, imagine if the Privileges Committee had come out and said, we're going to, Hannah's already been suspended for a little bit. We're going to reflect that on the party's leadership. They've got the same things, or 3 days or something. And then that story's put to bed. There's no meat on that bone for people like us or the media. There's no meat for people to get fucking angry about it. And you don't have this absolute clown show in the House that makes them look really, really bad.
Speaking of the clown show, we're going to get back to it. I want two other things quickly first. The first is when you were talking about, Māori in the House, Clint, there are, if you get onto YouTube and you can look around, you can find people that say, what were you guilty of? And they go, I was driving while black. A black man driving a nice car through. That feels like what we're seeing here is legislating while Māori. That seems to be the crime here, is what they were actually doing. And the other thing is, how many pearl-clutching national MPs were so offended that not a single Green Party, Te Pāti Māori Party, Labour Party person stood up to denounce a journalist calling some females from their side of the party a crass word. All of the other side should have stood up to denounce it. Can I ask this question? We have literally seen an ACT MP echoing the kinds of things you would see in a fascist state. Now, I know people are going like, no, the left is using the word fascist, literally locking up your enemies when they haven't done anything. A fascist authoritarian position. Who the fuck from ACT or National has stood up to denounce that? I denounce the actions of this ACT MP, even looking into the idea of imprisoning someone for getting out of their seats. Forget it. Imprisoning someone for doing the worst possible thing they could do in the House, even if we want to sell it that way. Who stood up to denounce it? They were very keen last week to hear all the other sides say, you guys have to say this is bad. Well, I guess we're saying now, you have to say this is bad. This is from an authoritarian fascist playbook. I don't use labels much. This literally is from that playbook.